Did you know why most engines die long before 200,000 miles? It's not because they're worn out, but due to one mistake during oil changes that most drivers repeat for years without knowing. In today's video, we're revealing 8 oil change methods that push engine life past 500,000 miles. No gimmicks, just smart habits, real facts, and mechanic-grade tricks backed by engine teardowns. And at the very end, I'll show you a 30-second trick that prevents more damage than a full synthetic oil ever could. Stick around because it might be the easiest engine-saving habit you ever learn. Let's start with the most overlooked part of every oil change. Secret number 8. Prime your engine before starting. Right after an oil change, most people turn the key or press the start button without thinking twice. But those first few seconds are the most dangerous for your engine. When you drain your oil, the oil pump, passages, and filter are emptied. The fresh oil is just sitting in the pan. When you start the engine immediately, critical components like camshafts, crank journals, rod bearings, turbochargers, and valve lifters spin under load with minimal or no lubrication. That's called a dry start, and over time, it's one of the fastest ways to shave years off an engine's life. The damage is microscopic at first, tiny scratches on metal surfaces, but it accumulates. After hundreds of oil changes, that wear turns into low compression, oil consumption, ticking lifters, and eventual catastrophic failure. To avoid this, you can prime your engine. Disable fuel or spark by pulling the fuel pump fuse, disconnecting the ignition coil harness, or on diesels, cutting the injector power circuit. Then crank the engine by holding the key or start button for 10 to 15 seconds to let the oil pump build pressure. If your car has an oil pressure light, wait until it goes out while cranking. After that, reconnect the fuse or harness and start the engine normally. Now it's fully lubricated before combustion. For push-button start cars, press the button without your foot on the brake or clutch to engage cranking without firing. Always check your owner's manual for exact steps. This trick is useful after every oil change, after long-term storage of 30 days or more, after rebuilding or swapping an engine, after replacing the oil pump or turbo, or anytime the engine has been completely drained of oil. It works because the technique is standard practice in aviation, marine, and motorsports engines, where downtime or failures cost tens of thousands. It costs nothing, takes less than a minute, and provides better startup protection than any additive or miracle product. Even if you do everything else right, using quality oil, premium filters, and perfect change intervals, skipping this one step means you're still causing unnecessary wear every single time. 30 seconds now can mean hundreds of thousands of extra miles later. Secret number 7. Change your oil every 5,000 miles. Many drivers assume that using full synthetic oil automatically means they can run 10,000 to 15,000 miles between changes. Some push it even further because the oil still looks clean. The truth is, oil appearance tells you nothing about what's happening inside your engine. Oil testing in a professional lab is the only way to know whether your oil is still protecting or has turned into a silent engine killer. Tests have revealed fuel dilution, coolant seepage, and abrasive metal particles in oil that looked perfectly fine. Even small amounts of silicon from a leaky air filter can accelerate cylinder wear and cause irreversible damage within months. Lab oil analysis can uncover a wide range of hidden problems. It identifies wear metals such as iron from cylinder walls, aluminum from pistons, and copper from bearing shells. It can detect fuel dilution, which thins oil and destroys its ability to lubricate. It also reveals coolant contamination, giving an early warning of a failing head gasket or cracked head. Another key finding is additive depletion, since anti-wear agents and detergents eventually get used up. Dirt and silicon, often caused by air intake leaks or poor filtration, are also flagged. A complete testing kit costs just $25 or $35 and typically includes a sterile sample bottle, prepaid shipping, and a full written report. Results usually arrive within a few days, providing hard facts instead of guesswork. Once you have results, you can act with confidence. If contamination is low and additive levels remain strong, you can safely extend oil changes by 1,000–2,000 miles. But if fuel, coolant, or excess wear metals are present, it's critical to change the oil immediately and investigate the cause. Keeping past reports is equally important, since trends over time can reveal developing problems long before they become visible or audible. Relying on oil life monitors alone is dangerous. These systems in modern cars calculate oil life based on mileage, temperature, and driving conditions, but they cannot detect a stuck injector leaking raw fuel, a small coolant seep, or abrasive debris slipping past the air filter. Without lab confirmation, you're trusting software that can be wrong. Oil analysis replaces guesswork with proof. It's a simple and inexpensive step that can prevent catastrophic engine damage and help your vehicle reach 500,000 miles with confidence. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button now. Secret number 6. Don't ignore these warning signs after an oil change. After an oil change, most drivers assume everything was done correctly. But thousands of engines fail within days because early warning signs were missed. Recognizing these signals can mean the difference between tightening a bolt and paying $8,000 for a new engine. Strange sounds are often the first clue something went wrong. A ticking or light knocking noise may be caused by low oil pressure, the wrong oil viscosity, or a clogged filter restricting flow. A deeper knocking or rumbling sound can point to bearing wear or a complete loss of lubrication. Even faint ticking after fresh oil might mean the system wasn't fully primed. In those first seconds after startup, unlubricated metal contact can cause damage that never reverses. Hissing or whistling noises may also appear, often pointing to air leaks from a poorly seated oil filter gasket or damaged seals. Leaks are another critical sign to watch for. Oil spots under the vehicle within 24 hours of service, smoke or burning smells from oil dripping on hot exhaust parts, or wet streaks around the oil pan, filter housing, or drain plug are all red flags. One of the most common culprits is a double-gasketed oil filter, when the old gasket sticks to the block and the new filter is installed on top of it. Under pressure, this mistake can cause oil to spray out rapidly. Dashboard warnings must never be ignored. An oil pressure light means low or no oil flow, and driving even a short distance in that state can cause irreversible engine damage. A check engine light immediately after an oil change can also appear, often triggered by the wrong oil viscosity interfering with sensors, especially in engines with variable valve timing. If the oil pressure light comes on or loud knocking is heard, the engine should be shut off immediately. Checking the dipstick is the next step. If it reads low or dry, there's likely a leak or major oil loss. The filter, drain plug, and surrounding areas should be inspected for looseness, cross-threading, or visible cracks. If the problem isn't obvious, the safest option is to tow the vehicle instead of risking more damage by driving it. The first 50 miles after an oil change are the most critical. A quick post-service inspection, whether done at home or before leaving the shop, can catch mistakes before they cause lasting harm. Vigilance during this short window often determines whether an engine runs another 200,000 miles or fails long before its time. Secret number 5. Don't over-tighten your drain plug. One of the fastest ways to turn a simple oil change into a $2,000 disaster is over-tightening your drain plug. Most modern cars use aluminum or magnesium oil pans, softer metals that can't handle excessive torque. When you crank the plug down too hard, the threads strip or crack, and the entire oil pan will need replacing. In some cases, drivers have lost their entire oil supply on the highway when a previously over-tightened plug loosened and fell out. The result is a seized engine and a repair bill that rivals the price of a used car. This happens because steel drain plugs are harder than the softer pan threads, so too much torque cuts into the aluminum. Many DIYers make the mistake of using breaker bars or long-handled ratchets, which multiply leverage and apply far more force than necessary. Even shops sometimes cause damage by using air tools that tighten well beyond what the design allows. The correct method is simple. Thread the plug in by hand until the sealing washer touches the surface of the oil pan. This ensures you're not cross-threading. Once it's seated, tighten only about a quarter to half turn with a wrench. That's all it takes, because the sealing washer is what actually keeps the oil in, not raw torque. If possible, use a torque wrench. Most drain plugs require only 25 to 30 lbs, which is barely more than hand tight. Always replace the sealing washer if it looks worn, flattened, or damaged, since it's cheap insurance against leaks. If the plug threads are already damaged, helicoil kits can sometimes repair them without replacing the entire pan. But prevention is always better, especially since many vehicles now use oil pans that are integrated with transmission or hybrid cooling systems, which can cost far more to replace. There are also things you should never do. Don't use thread sealant or Teflon tape. Drain plugs aren't pipe fittings, they seal with a washer. Don't over-tighten just to be safe, because that false sense of security often leads to costly failure later. And don't reuse a plug with damaged threads or a rounded head. Replace it before it becomes a bigger problem. This small adjustment in technique can mean the difference between a quick, inexpensive oil change and a catastrophic engine failure. Stripped threads don't just cause leaks, they can leave you stranded miles from home with no oil pressure and no warning. Secret number 4. Upgrade to a high-quality oil filter. You might think saving $5 on an oil filter is harmless, but it's one of the most expensive mistakes car owners can make. That bargain bin filter can send you straight to a $3,000, $8,000 repair bill by allowing unfiltered oil to circulate through your engine. An oil filter's job is simple. Trap contaminants before they reach critical parts like bearings, camshafts, and turbochargers. Cheap filters often use low-quality filter media with less surface area, which clogs faster and lets debris pass through. Worse yet, their bypass valves are often poorly calibrated or fail entirely. When this happens, oil bypasses the filter altogether, carrying abrasive metal particles to every moving surface. The differences between cheap and quality filters are huge. Premium brands like Wix, Man, Purolator Pure One, Mobile One, and K&N use dense pleated filter media with up to 45% more surface area than budget filters. Their bypass valves are precisely calibrated at around 20-23 psi, while cheap filters can open as low as 8 to 10 psi, allowing unfiltered oil to circulate prematurely. Quality filters also use silicone anti-drainback valves that hold oil in the filter when the engine is off, preventing damaging dry starts. Bargain filters often use brittle rubber that fails within months. Even the end caps matter. Metal end caps hold the media securely, while cardboard ones can warp and leak under pressure. This matters because engines wear most during startup, when oil hasn't yet reached every component. Without a working anti-drainback valve, those first 2 to 3 seconds of dry running scrape microscopic layers off bearings and cylinder walls. Over thousands of starts, that microscopic wear builds into catastrophic engine damage. For turbocharged engines, the stakes are even higher, since turbos spin at 150,000 plus RPM and require perfectly clean, consistent oil flow. The solution is simple. Stick with OEM filters or premium aftermarket brands. Spending an extra $7 or $12 per oil change is nothing compared to a multi-thousand-dollar repair. If you store your vehicle seasonally, a high-quality filter is even more important to ensure clean oil stays in place during months of inactivity. The bottom line is clear: an oil change is only as good as its weakest component. If your weakest link is a cheap oil filter, you've thrown away nearly all the benefits of fresh oil and put your engine's lifespan at serious risk. Secret number 3, avoid cold oil drain. Changing your oil cold might feel convenient. You avoid hot surfaces and the risk of burns, but it comes with a hidden cost. When you drain oil cold, you leave behind 15 to 20% of the old contaminated oil inside your engine. That leftover sludge immediately mixes with your fresh oil, undoing much of the benefit of the oil change. Temperature makes all the difference. Oil thickens as it cools, and even high-quality synthetics like 0W20 become syrupy when cold, clinging to the oil pan, galleries, and filter housing. At around 40 degrees F, oil can be up to 10 times thicker than it is at normal operating temperature. As a result, much of it refuses to flow out during a cold drain. The oil that stays behind isn't harmless. It's loaded with metal particles from normal wear, acidic combustion byproducts, carbon deposits that act like sandpaper, and moisture that accelerates corrosion. The right way to do it is simple. Start the engine and let it idle for 5 to 10 minutes, aiming for normal operating temperature around 195 degrees, not dangerously hot. Shut it down and drain the oil immediately while it's still warm and free-flowing. If possible, safely tilt the vehicle slightly to help every last drop leave the pan. This small preparation step can mean the difference between draining 4.9 quarts versus 4.2 quarts in a 5-quart system, a significant reduction in contamination. Doing it this way directly extends engine life. Mixing new oil with old is like pouring fresh juice into a dirty glass. It's instantly contaminated. That leftover quart of dirty oil carries oxidized compounds that accelerate the breakdown of your new oil. Over thousands of miles, this leads to more sludge, more wear, and weaker lubrication. For high-mileage engines aiming for 500,000 miles, every bit of contamination left behind compounds over time. One cold drain might not kill your engine, but repeating the mistake dozens of times means gallons of dirty oil circulating through your bearings, slowly cutting years off your engine's lifespan. Secret number 2, follow OEM service intervals. Dealerships and quick lube shops often try to sell you more services than you really need. They use fear tactics to make customers feel like something is wrong with their car, even when it isn't. The truth is, most factory-recommended service schedules are already cautious, but dealers go beyond them to make more money. If you follow their every visit list, you won't just waste cash, you could actually harm your vehicle by changing fluids too often or messing with systems that were working perfectly fine. The way they do this is simple. Service writers are trained to upsell. They'll show you brake fluid that looks a little dark and call it contaminated. They'll point at normal tire wear and act like it's dangerous. Sometimes they'll say your coolant is old after only 20,000 miles. Even though modern coolant usually lasts 50,000 miles or 5 years before it needs replacing. Expensive add-ons like transmission flushes, fuel system cleanings, and early brake replacements are some of their biggest money makers, and they're often sold long before they're necessary. In reality, real-world service intervals are already well studied. Oil changes, whether synthetic or conventional, are safe every 5,000 miles or 6 months. Brake fluid only needs to be changed every 3 to 5 years. Transmission fluid is good for 60,000 miles or 6 years, 80,000 for hybrids. Coolant usually lasts 50,000 miles or 5 years. Power steering fluid can go 50,000, 70,000 miles. Differential and transfer case fluids in 4WD vehicles should be changed around every 30,000 miles. Cabin air filters can be swapped yearly, engine air filters every 12,000 miles, and tires rotated every 5,000 miles. Brake pads normally last 30,000 to 50,000 miles, rotors about 50,000, and batteries 5 to 6 years. Spark plugs vary. Iridium plugs can last up to 120,000 miles, while copper ones only about 30,000. A PCV valve replacement every 50,000 miles is also smart. By sticking to these proven schedules, you keep your vehicle in great shape without wasting money on things you don't need. You also avoid the risks that come with unnecessary work, like aggressive flushes or opening up parts too often. Most importantly, you're maintaining your car when it actually requires it, keeping systems clean, lubricated, and reliable for the long run. The bottom line is simple. Follow your owner's manual and trusted schedules, not the scare tactics at the dealership. Over the life of your car, this approach will save you thousands, keep maintenance predictable, and help your engine last far longer. Why this extends engine life? By sticking to real intervals, you save money while avoiding unnecessary disassembly or chemical flushing that could cause premature wear. You're servicing systems when they actually need it, keeping parts clean, lubricated, and within spec without introducing unnecessary risk. Trust verified schedules and your owner's manual, not the fear-driven upsell script from the dealership. Over hundreds of thousands of miles, this disciplined approach keeps your maintenance costs predictable and your engine healthy. Secret number 1, the 30-second trick. This is one of the most underrated oil change habits, but also one of the most effective if you want your engine to last 300,000 miles or more. After an oil change, the oil sits in the pan, the filter is empty, and the pump hasn't built pressure. If you start right away, critical parts like the crankshaft and bearings run dry for a few seconds, and those seconds do more damage than the next 1,000 miles. That dry start means metal-on-metal contact across valves and lifters. It's especially harsh on turbochargers and high-revving engines that need instant oil flow. You won't hear it happen, but the damage builds every time. The fix is simple and takes only 30 seconds. Pull the fuel pump fuse or ignition connector, then crank the engine for 10 to 15 seconds to let the pump build pressure. If you have an oil light, wait until it goes out. Reconnect, then start normally. On push-button cars, press the button without the brake to crank without firing. This works after every oil change, after long storage, or when replacing filters, pumps, or turbos. Dry starts don't cause instant failure, but over time they lead to ticking lifters, worn cams, and lost compression. Make it a habit, and it's one of the best free ways to extend your engine's life. Most people skip it, now you won't. Thanks for watching. If you found these oil secrets helpful, drop a comment. Want to know hidden car features? Click on the left. Don't miss more tips and secrets. Hit that subscribe button.